silver to go back in the market to help with the manipulation of the price of silver, because it was the mid-90s that everybody thought silver was going to run out. And as kind of a proof of this, if you look at the USGS, which is the United States Geological Survey, and they track exports of silver from the United States, you look at like 1990, I think it was 94 through 97, the exports of silver jumped by, I think it was 300 million ounces. And, the idea behind that is they exported that silver to London, to the LME, to supply the LME with silver so that they can carry on with the rigging of the silver market, so they can carry on with the, unbacked monetary system. It's an amazing story, and there have been books written about it. Not my theory that all that was melted, remelted and put into the market. But the silver story and the silver magnets is fact, and it's been admitted by, even you take a tour through the Manhattan Project now, and, they talk about the silver that was borrowed from the Treasury.
Thanks, Bix.
Yeah.
Thanks, Perseus. And thanks, Bix. Bix, in your opinion, what causes silver to spike to $1,000 an ounce? That's about 25 times current levels. Do you think the commodity exchanges would need to collapse, or the US government would need to default on its debt, or the euro collapses, before we reach such extreme levels? So in summary, what triggers the rise of gold, and especially silver, to $1,000?
Well, I think it's worth a lot more than $1,000 now. The price of silver is being suppressed every day with a lot of power behind it. They're getting cover from the CFTC. The $1,000 number I threw out there, I've thrown out 7,000, I've thrown out 70,000. It all depends on if they try to keep this scam going, the scam of rigging commodity prices to preserve the dollar, preserve the unbacked currency. $1,000 silver, it would happen in a hyperinflationary type of situation. Do I think $1,000 silver would happen? No, I don't. I think there will be a total collapse once silver hits, $100 or $200, because JP Morgan has I think it's 50 billion in silver derivatives, and they have the gigantic short position. They would be taken out. If the system stays intact, the $1,000, silver number will come true. Cliff High has it kind of going up to $80 before the whole market shuts down. That high number for silver, you may think it's high, but silver's worth a lot more than that today if it was freely traded. Does that answer that? Kind of?
It does. Thank you, Bix. Dr. Steve, you got a question for Bix?
What was your opinion of the recent so-called drive-by shooting of the silver market, where silver was dropped 30% in just over 8 trading days?
That was it was, for a lot, there had been a lot of new silver people that came into the market, anywhere from $25, which is the number in January, to May 1st. A lot of brand new people came in, were all excited. They were learning the silver story, all the good things about silver. My take on what happened, it was orchestrated. It was allowed to go from $25 in January to $50 to get as many people in as possible, and then it was slammed down, all using computers. I believe it was done by Bill Daley and his group at JP Morgan. And Bill Daley is now on, he came in to the Obama White House as his chief of staff on February, I think it's 15th, or January 15th or 16th of this year. The week after he came in, you can almost draw with a ruler a straight line to $50 over the next 3 months. And then they slammed it. And it was purposeful. It was on a Sunday night. It was done with computers, market rigging. You had the CME and all the brokerage houses jacking up the margin requirements. This was a coordinated attack, and they do it pretty well. I've been through a lot of them. I rode through the one from $21 down to $8. But an interesting thing about this is that if you look at the large JP Morgan manipulations, and, I've been watching them for a long time. Some of the large ones is the price of natural gas went from $15 to $6 and then to $4 right after JP Morgan was allowed to trade it. That was them slamming it down. Then they bought the hedge fund, Amaranth for pennies on the dollar and made billions. Same thing they did with silver a few years back from 21 to 8. This time they've done it, they've knocked it from 50 to 35. The question is, will they go for the same type of slam down to $25 where they started in January? They can with computer programs. They can with the CFTC not stopping them. Will they do it? I don't know. But if you're worried about that, you're not thinking about silver correctly. Silver should be taken, your physical silver investments should be taken out of the hands of all the banksters. Take it home, bury it in a safe, whatever you can do to get it out of their hands, because the price of silver is not $50, it's not $25, it's not $1,000. Nobody knows what the true fair market value of silver is, because every day millions of ounces of paper silver are traded to set the price back and forth to each other. So I think it was yes, it was a setup. Everybody's fairly certain of that. Will it go down to 25 like, JP Morgan has done in the past? I don't know, but, keep your silver out of the market so it doesn't matter to you. You're counting how much silver you have in ounces and not in dollars.
Okay. Why isn't the organizations that are responsible for following up and overseeing these manipulations, why aren't they doing their job?
Well, first of all, they haven't, since they have never, really. But, it's part of the Road to Ruta scenario is that in order to rig the markets, you're going to have to, this is from the 1970s on, when the CFT, this version of the CFTC was put in place. You have to run cover for these banks who rig the markets. You can take out the good ones. You can do things within the regulators, the SEC and the CFTC. The interesting thing about the CFTC is for 30 years, it was known as the joke of the regulators. All the worst attorneys would go to the CFTC and they had the worst employees. And then they put a few very high connected corrupt people. So you had a bunch of people who weren't very smart, and then you had a couple of the market riggers running the show. So the CFTC never even has been there. There has been a change. Ever since we got the new commissioners in, and the last of the crooked commissioners left a while ago. All the commissioners now know exactly what's going on, know where the CFTC was before. They're learning about the manipulation of gold and silver. They're slowly coming around. They are not going to cause the crash. They're not going to stop the manipulation. What they will do is, when the time is right to take these bankers out and the crash begins, they're going to implement all these rules and laws so that they can't get out of the crash like they got out last time.
Right. Just recently, I think the other day, an article about the CFTC said that they need more money to do their job properly, basically to oversee all the potential manipulation or whatever they claim is going on. So I agree. Our next question, Bix, is Ted Butler was recently interviewed by Jim Cook. Mr. Butler thinks the entire takedown was to have strong hands acquire a tremendous amount of silver. It was the only way to get that much. He claimed approximately 150 million ounces were taken out. He thinks someone bought it for a good reason, and that is going to go up, and a lot. Do you agree with him, and why?
First of all, I always agree with Ted. The guy's brilliant. He, I've told him this before, and I think he has a mole inside the CFTC who helps him out, because some of the stuff he comes out with is just, he's too smart for his own good. Yes, I do believe that that's what happened. Now, the question lies in, when you say it was definitely a physical manipulation because JP Morgan didn't cover any of their shorts like they usually do on the slams. So you had a whole bunch of silver coming out of the SLV. You've got, nobody knows how much silver was traded hands on the LME because, it's kind of the secret world over there. But there was a lot of physical that traded hands. Now the question is, yes, did they go to strong hands? Yes, I believe they did. Are those strong hands good hands or bad hands? Are those strong hands, JP Morgan, are they going to use that 150 million ounces to continue to try to suppress the physical market? I don't know. I think a lot of silver did change hands, but I don't know who has that silver now.
Okay, Dr. Steve looks like he's having some technical difficulties, but I've got a question for you, Bix. This is a question from MTY for a member. What Sinclair and Turk are stepping out and saying that fireworks are in our future in the weeks ahead. Are you in agreement, and what do you see?
Definitely. Now, you can even see it in the language coming out of Washington and coming out of Wall Street that everybody and their mother's given up on the behavioral finance. Things are great, and everybody's saying get ready for the second round of the crash. And it makes sense that JP Morgan would slam the silver market a month before the large takedown of the entire system happened. Now, that doesn't mean that gold and silver are necessarily going to shoot higher. They should, yes, they should. The question is, will the market riggers allow it? And I've said it many times that the price of gold and silver will continue to be manipulated as long as computers are allowed to trade in these markets. When the crash happens and everybody sees how fraudulent the market activity is, it's going to be a long time before any computers are allowed to trade stocks, bonds, gold, silver, you name it. So, there's definitely action right around the corner. Whether or not silver and gold will shoot up or shoot down, it all depends on where the computer riggers want it to go. So the only way to survive something like that is to get your physical and get the hell away from any market-related price action.
Okay. Cliff High, whose research and WebBot reports who you know of and are read worldwide, claims that we will see $5 and even $20 rallies in silver, all due to the drop in the dollar and collapse of the system. When do you think it is probable, and do you agree with him with his amount of rise?
Like I've said, I think they can put it anywhere they want, put the price anywhere they want on a given day. It does make sense that the good guys will attack the bankers in the silver market because that's where the bankers are most vulnerable. And if the good guys have the CFTC on their side, which I believe they do now, the good guys can release their computer programs as well, and the bad guys will, get busted for rigging the market. There's been investigations. There's been whistleblowers. The CFTC has plenty of evidence to bust JP Morgan at any moment. And I do think that moment is coming. And it'll most likely be this summer at some point. So, Cliff's